Ladies and gentlemen, if I told you what just happened behind the scenes for the last 10 minutes, you'd be incredulous because the devil is a liar and he was trying to stop me from talking to this absolutely amazing and phenomenal woman. But you know what? God is good all the time. And here we are. You know what I'm saying? Here we are. And it was a little of that theta healing that you threw my way, because we're going to talk about that as well. But ladies and gentlemen, I am sitting here with the amazing Nycole Ralph. This has been an interview that I have absolutely looked forward to for a very, very, very long time. Nycole, welcome to A Conversation With.
Thank you. I am so honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It is such a pleasure.
It is an honor for me to be speaking with you because this young lady has it going on, ladies and gentlemen. She is, as I would call, a quadruple threat, because triple threat does her no justice. She does some of everything. And the amazing thing is she does it all very well. You don't get that often. You always get the jack of all trades, master of none. Well, this young lady is absolutely a master of a few trades. So we are going to jump right in. And the question that I have for you, Mr. Cole, is how did you get started in the business?
How did I get started in the business? So I guess I got started in the business via dance. I started as a dancer. I got a full tuition scholarship to Fordham University and Alvin Ailey. So I did study acting while I was in school too, but my degree is in dance. And so then after that, I started doing, I dipped my toe into musical theater. Mm-hmm. And then, but because I came from Ailey, it was like ingrained in my head that, oh, you have to do real art. So like I did concert dance for a while and it was like, nope, this ain't for me. So then I went back to amusement parks and cruise ships and eventually back to musical theater. And yeah, so that's how I entered the industry as via musical theater, which is then how I started really getting into acting.
So how long were you dancing before you segued into just acting? How many years did you do that?
That's a great question because I don't know. Okay, so I was concert dancing. Let's see here. I did concert dance from 2005. I think I only did concert dance for like 2 years before I was through with that. And then I went into the cruise ships and amusement parks. And so that was kind of my segue because I was hired as a dancer there. But then I started singing there as well. And then when I returned to New York, I gave some years out there. I just realized I told my age. Ooh.
It's quite all right. You put your time in.
I put my business out there.
That's all right,
Floyd.
That's okay.
And then yeah. So probably about, I would say maybe 5 years late altogether. Before I started doing musical theater that incorporated acting as well.
Okay. So cruise ships. I wonder if I was on a cruise ship that you were actually the entertainment on. Wow. So how did that happen?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. When I graduated from Ailey, I like I said, I went straight into concert dance, and I had one of my friends. Well, no, I didn't go straight into concert dance. Like I said, I dipped my toe into musical theater, and then I came back out because it was like, no, that's not real art. And so I was like, okay, I'll do the artist thing. But then a couple of my friends went on to cruise ships, and they're like, yo, listen, this is where the money at. Come over here, and it's fun, and yada, yada. And I was like, I was still kind of brainwashed, like, no, I have to do real art. Right. I have to do.
It's not artistic.
It's right. And so
cruise ships.
I resisted it. I resisted for a while until I finally got fed up. I was like, I'm not fulfilled like this concert dance. No shade to concert dancers. Those who love it and do it well, right. Like, boom, like y'all are fire. And I just didn't love it. It just, that wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. And so I finally got fed up with it. My friend hit me up right at the right time when I was kind of feeling that frustration, was like, hey, we got an opening now. You should apply for it. So I sent in my video, got hired, and that's basically how it happened.
Wow. So did you enjoy it? I mean, because you got to dance, plus you got to travel. So did you enjoy it?
Absolutely. I loved ship life. I did. It takes a special person, I will say, because
Mhm.
there are several people that come on and hate it. But
Okay.
I was one of those people. I loved it. I loved the travel. I loved the stardom being on the ship. I loved the type of dancing we were doing. That felt more fun and fulfilling to me
Mhm.
because it was entertainment. I like what I love to do, what I infuse into everything I do, even to this day, is creating a good time for people.
Mhm.
Like, I love to entertain. I love to create a good time for people. And there's the people that are like, do the art that's like deep and heavy and da 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 da. And I'm that person that I want you to laugh and have a good time.
Right. Well, you know
Hmm.
what? That's what it's about because it's a small suspension in time to take you somewhere else as opposed to the everyday rigors of life. So it's
Hmm.
supposed to be an escape. So that's great. So when did the acting bug hit you or bite you, I should say?
Oh, it started on the ship.
Oh.
I actually started taking acting. No, I'm gonna say this. I've wanted to act since I was a kid,
Hmm.
Floyd. I wanted, and my mom, little did I know, she would tell people behind my back, oh, she's an even better actress than a dancer. Now I wish she
Mm,
would have told me
right.
this.
Some positive
Maybe that would've-
reinforcement.
Right, that might have made my path a little different. But where I grew up in Sandusky, Ohio, there was no formal training for acting, and so but there were dance studios. So I knew that I wanted to entertain, like I said, and so that was all I could get trained in was dancing. And so then
Okay.
I ended up getting a scholarship to Ailey and yada yada. But I they I we didn't have formal training, but I tried out or I auditioned for the drama club in my senior year of high school,
Okay.
and I booked the lead role, having had no training. I
Oh
hadn't been in
wow.
drama club before, and it was a role that was written for a male, and they
Oh
still cast
wow.
the lead. Yeah, so I've had it my whole life, to be honest. But I started pursuing it kind of seriously, I guess, on the ship because I was taking private acting lessons while I was on the ship. There was one of the vocalists on the ship was
Hmm.
a vocal coach as well as an acting coach. And so
Okay.
I was taking voice and acting lessons with him while I was dancing on the ship. And it got to a point where he was like, when we get back to New York, you need to start auditioning because you're like good.
Okay.
You're really good. And I went back and I did. I took his advice. I auditioned in New York. And my very first audition, Floyd, I got offered the job on the spot. And you know that
Wow.
doesn't.
No, not often. Not very. Not very often.
Yeah.
Those odds are very slim to none.
Yeah. But that was like encouragement, like, yes, this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Right. So let's, you know what? So, with what you just said, we're going to rewind this a little bit because you said your mom was telling other people that she's a better actress than she is a dancer. And you said, well, I think if she had said that to me, then my path might have been different. But with your path being different, you may not have ended up where you are right now. And then also the role that was meant for a male and you ended up getting it. And this is something that we talk about in your club on Clubhouse, the Bad Bitch Club, which is an amazing club, which I just happen to be a moderator of. I'm not advertising Clubhouse, but we actually talk about that with actors, how you should just go in and book the room as opposed to trying to book the role, because when you book the room, you may end up getting a role that was not meant for you. So speak to that.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. It's in this industry, it's not even about who you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's about who knows you. So that's why you want to book the room because you want people to remember you and be top of mind and so that they'll call you back in when it's time for things. I mean, for myself as a producer, as a creator, as a filmmaker, I do that. Like I when I first started creating, I had auditions, but I don't really have auditions anymore because I have a network of people and I just call in who I want to work with. And a lot of times it will be people that impress me. Like, so when I first started my series, Working Out the Kinks, there was this role that was one of like the series regular roles. So it was like, one of my co-stars, if you will, but it was a series regular. And for the role of Crystal. And there was this young lady that came in and she blew my mind. She did an amazing read.
Mm-hmm.
However, she looked too much like me. So I ain't want to
wow.
cast her.
Of course. There's only one you on the set.
Right.
So only gonna be one me on the set, girlfriend. Sorry.
Right.
I'll
Right.
book you and I'll book you for something else.
Right. But I never forgot her. And years later, when we were still doing the show, there was another role that came up because we ended up having to lose that character. And so we wanted a similar type to come back in and kind of, replace that character, if you will. And so I wanted to call her in because I never forgot her. She had booked the room.
Right. Right. And see, that's so strange because when you book the room, you don't know that you've booked the room, but it's always good to go in with the mindset that you're going to actually book the room, because as we so often talk about in your club, there may be casting directors sitting in that room, and it might not even be the main casting director that's actually working on something or has something, in the pipeline that, may come to fruition a year or 2 years later. Mm-hmm. So you just never know. So it's always good to go in with the mindset again that you're not going to just book the job, you're going to book the room. Because I remember when I was an actor myself and I had a manager, Kathy Parker out of New Jersey, such a phenomenal manager. And she would call me up and she would say, hey, you just booked a gig, or you just booked a print job. And I would be saying, well, I did not go on an audition last week, so I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. And she says, well, you remember when you went on such and such 3 months ago? They liked you so much, they just want you to come in. And I'm going to tell you something. Those are the best checks to cash.
Right.
The checks that you don't, when you get it, it just has a certain feel to it. That check just feels differently than other checks because you've earned it in a different type of way. Yeah. It's like all of the training that I, put myself through and spend the money for has actually, come to fruition for me. So let's talk about Working Out the Kinks. So when did you start with the content creation? Because you were an actress. So when did you decide to make the transition to becoming an executive producer of your own content?
So as I said, I started in theater. I started in musical theater, particularly in theater. And I wanted to start doing more film and TV work. And so I did. I started, doing the independent films, particularly student films, independent TV, digital TV series and things, and pilots and things. And I was trying to build my reel, but I would never get my footage. Mm-hmm. I never would get my footage. And so I was like, how am I going to break it to this crossover, I should say, into this other side of the industry if I don't have footage? Because the major, the networks, the studios that are for the higher caliber or higher level jobs, they don't want to see you unless you got some media, some footage to show them. I'm like, how am I going to build my reel? But I can't get a reel if I don't get a job. So it was like this cycle. So I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? So somebody had recommended to me, I think it was one of my friends, my acting friends, was like, well, you should just produce your own reel. And I was, write some scenes. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I can write then the character that I want to play. I can write myself as the lead. I can put myself the way that I want to be seen in the industry anyway. I was like, okay, cool. I'll do that. But then I was working with my coach. I had a coach at the time as well. And one of the questions my coach asked me was, well, what do you, and this was completely unrelated. We weren't talking about me wanting to be in TV and film, yada, yada. Basically, it was just a question of, what do you want to do ultimately? What is the big dream? What is the big goal? Mm-hmm. And I sat and I thought about it and I reflected on it. And I was like, well, actually, ultimately, I want to be like a Tyler Perry or an Oprah Winfrey because I want to be able to tell stories that I want to tell and have
Right.
creative control over them and be able to be in the show. And so with that in mind, I was like, if I'm going to put all this time and energy and money into producing a reel, I might as well just go for the gold, the actual goal, and produce a show.
Right.
So that's where that came from.
So
And then I'll have
I'm
the
sorry.
footage as well.
So you couldn't get footage from other independent artists whose films or producers whose films that you were in?
Correct. I couldn't to this day. I couldn't get it.
Okay, we're going to do a quick PSA. Filmmakers, if you have actors and actresses who are acting in your films, and especially if you're doing it for copy and credit, one thing that you want to do if you're building your reputation, the least that you could do, which you should do as a professional, because this is a business, is that you should be able to give your actors and actresses their footage. PSA's over. So,
Yeah. No, can I add to that?
yes,
Can
you
I add to
can.
that?
Yes, you can.
I'm
Please.
going to add to it on both the actor side and the content creator side. Actors, what I do now is I will write up a one-page contract that they have to sign. Like, if I'm going to do this work for you and I'm not getting compensated with money, this is what I am getting compensated, and I need it by this date.
That's beautiful.
Sign
That's
it.
beautiful.
So there's that. And also, I do understand the hesitation of content creators, of filmmakers, because a lot of times it's like, well, I don't want my footage to be out there before I release it, before it's distributed. I want to do the film festival circuit, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so make an agreement that they're only going to use it like on their reel that's not posted anywhere or something like that. Like, make it specific, because that's why these actors are doing the work for you with no or low monetary compensation. So you should work with them. It's not fair to hold the footage hostage for 6 months, a year, or longer. Like, they need that footage that is relative to what they look like now.
Right.
Because if 6 months, a year later, they may be a whole different look, and that's not fair.
No, it's not. And as they say, your reputation precedes you. So you want to be the type of executive producer, content creator, whatever, that when people ask, well, how is this person to work with? Or, if I've done something for them and I need it from them, how quickly do I get it? What's the turnaround? You want someone to give a positive answer, because we've heard so many horror stories about actors, and I'm one of them. I've done films, and if you have the footage, I have the footage.
Nice.
And it's like, I've never seen the work that I put in, which is not fair. Because again, if I'm on set for copy and credit, and hey, it is what it is. But if I'm on set for copy and credit, the least that you could do for me is to supply me with my footage. And as you said, if you're going to do the film festival circuit, or if you're looking to get distribution, I understand that there are, restrictions with that. But again, make an agreement with the filmmaker, or the actor and the actress, so you can actually give them some type of window where they could actually, get their work, because they may not want to work with you ever again. If I wouldn't want to work with you, I wouldn't want to work with you.
Right.
Yeah. So let's talk about you being in the corporate world, because I read everything you send me. So you were doing pretty darn good.
I was.
And you walked away from that.
I did. I will say it was a transition. So I'll tell that story. It also actually kind of speaks back to booking the room as well. So I actually, as I told you, I went to college to pursue a career in the entertainment industry. And then I got to a point, I hit like this plateau in my career, or at least hindsight is 2020. I really hadn't plateaued, but it felt like at the time that It was a plateau, and I was getting frustrated. And so I left the industry to start teaching full time. So I did that. Yeah. And I mean, and I was getting paid well. Like, as you know, they say teachers don't get paid well, but I was getting paid well as a teacher. I was getting $80,000 a year. And so that was definitely much, much, much more than I ever had gotten as an actor. And so I was doing that, prior to that, I think the thing that triggered it was when I went in to audition for the Book of Mormon. So prior to me leaving the industry and becoming a teacher full time, I went into the Book of Mormon and auditioned for them. And I did well. I got called back. I got called back. I got called back. I got called back. I made it to the final callbacks and choked.
Wow.
Literally choked. And so like at this point, you know, the associate director, she's like going to bat for me because it's like she brought this person in. It's like, no, she's really good. Like, okay, so she like stopped the audition, came and gave me like a little pep talk in the middle of the audition. And I was like, okay. And then she went back and sat down and gave me another chance, and I choked again.
Wow.
And then she came and she gave me one more pep talk. And I was like, okay. And then she went back and sat down. They put the tape back on, and I choked again.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was so embarrassing, Floyd. It was so embarrassing. So needless to say, I did not book, and it was down to me and 4 other girls for that particular role. And I knew all of them, and the ones, well, I knew most of them, and the ones I didn't know, I kept in touch with. So then we kind of became friends, and I noticed. So one of the girls booked it, and then a couple months later, another girl got called back in and booked another role and booked. So they had booked the room clearly,
right?
Because one by one, I saw all 4 of them get called back in and booking it within the next couple of years. And I'm still out here like, doo. Well, I mean, it makes sense. Like I choked. Why would they call me back in? Anyway, so at that point, I was super discouraged. Like I said, looking back in hindsight, it was just, you know, you get sometimes. That was my first time getting to that level of an audition where I had all the executives in there, the creatives. And I had reached a new level in my career. That's not a plateau. Like, you're still going up. Like, but for me, I felt like, oh, I don't have what it takes. I can't do it. You know, it felt really discouraging. And so I literally stopped. I quit, and I went into, so I went back into teaching, or not back. Well, yeah, I guess I had been teaching before, but not full time. So I went into teaching full time, and that's when I started focusing on working out the kinks. So that's how I was staying in the industry. I was producing, working out the kinks, and teaching full time, and that was it. I wasn't like acting other than in working out the kinks. And so, that happened. And then about a year and a half later, maybe 2 years later, year and a half later. Oh, mind you, I had gotten rid of my manager, my agent, my vocal coach, my acting coach. I got rid of I was serious. I was done.
Okay. So that was it.
Yeah. And so then like a year and a half later, 2 years later, maybe, I got this email from my old agent saying, hey, Book of Mormon is interested in seeing you again. And I'm like, I'm good. Right. So I guess maybe I did book the room and didn't realize. But at that point, I was like, no, I'm good. And so I ignored the email. I didn't even reply. Like, you're not my agent. Like, I'm good.
Right.
I don't. So then,
which is a no, ladies and gentlemen. Please reply.
Right. But I just wasn't in that mindset. Right. I'm like, I'm not an actor anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm a producer now and I'm a teacher, and that's it.
I ain't got to email you back.
Right. And then my old manager hit me up. My old manager's like, hey, Book of Mormon reached out to me, and they're looking. Yeah. And same thing. I don't know if I ignored her or I replied to the email and said, no, I'm not interested. I think I replied to her because she's cool. She's cool. I actually hired her back. She's now my manager again. She's cool. So I think I replied to her and I was like, no, I'm not interested. And then she got on the phone with me and she was like, wait a minute, because she's a sister too. She's like, wait a minute, sis.
Like, hold up, girl.
Hold on. This is something you've been wanting. I know you're not technically with me anymore, but this is something you've been wanting. Like, you know, so we had a heart to heart. And even at the end of that conversation, I still was like, no, I don't want to. And so I got off the phone with her and I sat on my bed and I was thinking, like, her words kind of had gotten to me. And it was like, this is something that I had been wanting so badly. What has changed? Do you really no longer want to be an actor? Like, what's going on here? And I had to come to the realization, no, I do. So what is this? And it was like, oh, this is called fear. This is
Yes.
called fear. I've been out of the industry for 2 years and I don't think I have it anymore. And the last time I was in front of these people, I choked.
Hmm.
And I don't want to revisit that either.
Right. So you had
um,
a slight bit of trauma
I
associated with the Book of
did.
Mormon.
Yes, I had trauma, but also yeah, just being out of the industry, I felt like maybe my chops weren't there anymore, right? And so I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I do have this producing going on. It's going well. I do have this teaching going on. Like, I don't need this.
Hmm.
Why don't I just look at this as like a game? Like, let me just go in and see what they talking about. It's if nothing happens, nothing happens. My
Right.
life is still the same, right? I can come back to this life of teaching and producing and be good. But let me go see what's going on. So I took it as like a game. Like, let's see if I still got it,
Hmm.
right? And so I went into the audition, and I think because I didn't put so much pressure on myself, I slayed it. I didn't get it coached. Floyd, I did not get it coached. I ain't never been to an audition where I didn't have it coached. I didn't have
Wow.
it coached at all. I just went in after 2 years of not training,
Hmm.
went in, did it, and slayed it. And they called me back. They're like, oh, okay. And they called me back. And so at that point, I was like, oh, they're serious.
Hmm.
Okay. So then I got it coached for the
Okay.
callback.
Okay.
I got coached for the callback. I went in and what did they say? They asked me, so I slated again, and they asked me, oh, okay, would you be interested in any of our productions, meaning the Broadway production, the touring production, the UK production, the Australia
Oh,
production, the
wow.
Europe. Yeah. And I really wasn't. I really just wanted to stay in the US
Hmm.
and do Broadway, but I didn't want to burn that bridge. So I was like, sure, of course.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I said, yeah, thinking like, okay, I'm about to get an offer soon. I still didn't get that offer, Floyd. I did
Wow.
not get that offer. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? It's cool. I proved myself. I know I still got
Absolutely.
it. I went back to teaching and producing. A few months later, I got a call from my manager and she was like, I got good news. I have an offer from Book of Mormon. So they finally offered me like a few months later,
Okay.
and they were offering me the tour. And by that time I was resolute. I was like, nah, I don't want to tour. Cause I was in the middle of shooting, working out the kinks. And I was
Right.
like, no. And so it was a difficult decision because again, I didn't want to burn that bridge because a lot of times they'll take you from the tour and then put you on Broadway. And
Hmm.
I like, this is hard. I'm probably shooting myself in the foot here, but I'm very clear on what I want and what I need right now.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so I said no. And my manager was like, what? Like, I've worked so hard to get
Hmm.
you here. I've worked so hard and you've worked so hard. She was like, what? And I said, no, like I'm in the middle of shooting this thing and no, I can't. And she was like, okay, all right. And so she went back to them. A month later, they came back to me with the offer for Broadway. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I say all that to go back to booking the room.
Hmm.
Clearly, I had booked the room because and not only did they come back to me offering me Broadway, but they were like, we want you to start right away. It was December. I said, nah, I can't start till April. And again, my manager was like, what? So she went back and told them, and they were like, okay, we're willing to work with you. We can do that.
Wow. So yeah, you really impressed some people. You really did. But you know what? As I'm sitting here listening to you, I remember something that I heard on a podcast a couple of months ago about Sean Penn. And a
Okay.
lot of people don't know that Sean Penn, his first role, which was Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Now, and I am aging myself, but Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which was an amazing film, was Sean Penn's first role. Sean
Okay.
Penn bombed the audition. He
Okay.
bombed it. He did not do well at all. I mean, it was bad. And
Okay.
he talked about it. But the executive producers saw something and they were like, you know what? There's something there. He didn't do well in the audition, but there's something there. And the rest is history
Hmm.
because he was so funny in that film and his career has been stellar. So sometimes even when you don't think you're doing the work, that's what you see, but
Hmm.
that's not what they see. Because
Right.
listen, look, we're all people and we all make mistakes and we all freeze. Because when you talked about that story, girl, that took me back to an audition that I had for this show that they were going to be airing in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And that's playing in my head as I'm sitting in the audition. And what they did in the audition was the executive producers came in and they were sitting at the table and we were, sitting in the chairs, and they just said, ad lib it, go. That was it. And you see how you look? That's exactly how I was.
I could just feel it.
I froze, and nothing, and of course I did not book that. Because everyone else just started talking over each other because everybody's trying to shine for the casting directors. But I absolutely froze. And when I left out of there, I said, that will never happen to me again. Now, I didn't end up getting called by them a couple of months later, the way you did. But I said to myself, when I go in, I have to be prepared. I have to be ready, and I have to be ready for anything. So now when you're talking about they kept calling you, you just weren't in a space where you were ready to accept it because you had moved on and you had your own things going on. And let's go back. Let's go a little back, because you talked about when you initially auditioned for the Book of Mormon and you froze and you froze and you froze.
Well, the initial auditions went well, and I think that's probably
okay, that's right. In the final audition,
it was the final callback. Yep.
But check this out, and this is as you were explaining that, and then when you talked about you were working out the kinks, the first thing that came into my mind was she was not supposed to be on the Book of Mormon at that time. Because if she had been on the Book of Mormon, working out the kinks would have never come to fruition.
Wouldn't. Yep.
So here we go again. Things. I'll just use a saying that one of my favorite personal development guys uses, Ed Milet, and he talks about things happen to you, or things happen for you, not to you. I think that's what he says. Or things happen to you, not for you. Basically, that happened to you, so the working out the kinks could happen for you. You understand what I'm saying? So you and when you look back on, you say, "Oh man, I can't believe that I got to that point and I bombed." But the 2 steps back propelled you 5 steps forward. And a lot of times people don't look at the big picture. They have on the blinders, and they look at what's directly in front of them, as opposed to looking at, okay, well, I'm bummed that this did not work out, but that may be because something bigger is in store for me. And and that's going to segue me right into my next line of questioning, because I know that you are a phenomenal life coach and that you teach mindset and that you teach things to where positivity can really help you in your daily and personal life. So let's talk about that a little bit. So how did you get into that space?
Yeah, so that's another whole story. At one point in my life, I was in an abusive relationship. I was in a relationship where it was emotionally and physically abusive, and to the point where I didn't believe in myself. Period. Like this person made me believe that I wasn't shit. I wasn't a shit actor. Like I actually, that was another point in my career where I stopped pursuing my career because he made me believe that I was not it. And so I was just supporting him in his career because he was an actor and a comedian too. And that was it. And we built a theater company together. And so that was actually my first foray into producing, but it was theater. It was live theater. And we did well, but I was doing more of the business side. He was more the creative side because I wasn't shit with the creative side.
Stay in your lane.
Right. And so anyway, it came to a head at one point where one of our incidents, I almost died. And my family had to come and rescue me from that situation. And I ended up staying with my aunt and uncle in New Jersey. They didn't have a lot of space. I don't come from money or anything like that. So they didn't have a lot of space. They didn't even have an extra bed or couch. Somebody was already sleeping on the couch. So I was sleeping on the floor. And, but I couldn't really sleep at all because I had PTSD. Every time I tried to close my eyes, I would see this man coming for me. Right. And so I would just lay there at night, not able to sleep, and just thinking like, God, I know this ain't for me. I know that this is not my destiny. I know this is not what you have for me. Like, even at my rock bottom, I didn't have a job. I'm sleeping on my aunt's floor. I had no income. I had no car. I didn't have a home anymore. But even there was something in me that knew that this is not for me. And I had fight in me. I wasn't going to let this be my destiny. And so I was like, okay, what do I got to do to get up out this hole? And so what was revealed to me was that there was something within me that needed to be addressed. There was something within me that was broken, that needed to be healed, because otherwise, why would I have even allowed myself to be in this situation and be treated in this way? Clearly, there's something within me that needs to be addressed. So I started searching for help. I started searching for help, going to self-help seminars, listening to audio and podcasts and videos on abundance mindset, things of that nature. And so that's kind of where I got introduced into the world. I started meeting coaches and things, and they would offer me complimentary sessions. So I would take the sessions, and it just started me to get into that world of self-empowerment, personal development, and things of that nature. And finally, one of those coaches I had a complimentary session with, it was so profound that I realized, like, oh, I need to continue working with you on an ongoing basis. And so I did. I started working with that coach, and I worked with that particular coach for a couple years, but he was working with a company. So I stayed working with that company. He left the company, and I started working with another coach within that company. I stayed with that company for a total of 6 or 7 years. And towards the end of that, around the 6th year, I had grown so much that they invited me to train to become one of the life coaches on staff.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of how that happened. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, excuse me. So how has being in the personal development space helped you as an actress and as a content creator?
Number one, as an actress, first and foremost, I wouldn't be where I am now. Like, it was working with that coach. I was working with the coach at the time when Book of Mormon reached back out to me. I was not working with the coach when I originally auditioned for Book of Mormon, but when they reached back out to me after 2 years, I was working with the coach. And it was the coach that, working with that coach, being in a different frame of mind, that made me even be able to reflect and realize that it was fear that was holding me back. Like, the old me wouldn't have been able to do that sort of reflection.
Yes.
So I was able to sit there, reflect, and realize, oh, this is fear that's holding me back. And then flip it and be able to approach it from the standpoint of, well, let's just make it a game. Let's make it fun, and relieve myself of that pressure. So just mindset work, it shifts your mind in a way that you're able to look at things differently. So I would never have booked Book of Mormon if I hadn't been able to reflect in that way. So there's that. And then this coach is the one that made me look at the bigger picture and think about what is it that you really want to do. And that is what took me from wanting to produce my own reel to wanting to produce my own show. Because through the coaching, I came to the realization, oh, I want to be another Tyler Perry, another Oprah Winfrey, Anissa Rae. So yeah, that's what it's done for me.
And that is so profound, because like yourself, I am so big on personal development. And I mean, and I started on my journey about 3 years ago. And a gentleman that's in Philadelphia, Suleiman Rahim, he spoke at an event. A gentleman by the name of Charles Roberts does free events. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go just to see, because I'd never been to one. I said, I'm going to go just to see. And that day truly changed the trajectory of my life. It really did, because I sat there and I listened to this gentleman, and he's very successful in the tri-state area, owns multiple businesses, young multimillionaire. And he started talking, and he started rattling off all of these names of people that I'd never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And he started quoting from books that I never heard of. But I'm writing everything down because what he was saying was making so much sense. And he was talking about mindset and about, an abundance mentality and about, not living in fear and just, stretching yourself and just putting yourself out there and, giving off positive energy and receiving it. And I started reading books, the Les Browns, the Ed Milet's, the Tony Robbins, the Eric, the hip hop preacher, guys like that, the Leslie Nichols. And I'm reading all of these things, and I'm listening to Gary Vaynerchuk of podcasts and all of these phenomenal people. And it was like I woke up from the Matrix.
Yeah.
And when I really started incorporating what all of these, and let me sidetrack for a second. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be successful, follow successful people.
Yes.
Back to the main point. So I started listening to these extremely successful people, the David Goggins of the world, and my language changed. My mindset changed. The people that I started listening to for business advice, all of that changed. So if you were to go back 3 years, this is not the same person that you would be talking to that's here right now. So this is one of the things that I talk about when I talk to actors, that it's so very important that you develop your mind, have personal development, and create and practice good practices, because this is such a brutal business. And you have to equip yourself with the ability to handle a no, because you will hear this, you will hear it. So I tell people, no is a companion. I've been married for 33 years, and no has been with me just as long. So with personal development, it really helps you. And that's one of the things that I love about you, because when I listen to you talk on Clubhouse, when I see your reels on Instagram, it shines through the light. It really shines through. And that's one of the reasons why I rock out with you, because your energy is so positive. And the fact that you have a foundation of things that happened, but you didn't let that stop you.
Right.
You didn't let it stop you. And the saying that Ed Milet says, things happen to you, not for you. So
I would add to that, Floyd, that, not only your language and your mindset, but for me, and I'm sure probably for you as well, the people that I place myself around, the people that are in my immediate circle, like that is so indicative. I think it was Will Smith that said it. And Will Smith, so you talked about a whole bunch of successful people in the self-empowerment world. You can look at successful actors. A lot of them are very into self-empowerment, personal development too. Will Smith is one of them. Steve Harvey, Oprah Winfrey, like all of them. Anyway, so Will Smith, I believe, is the one that said, I can tell you who you're going to be by looking at the 5 closest people to you.
That is so true. That is so true.
The 5 closest people to you, that is indicative of the direction that you're headed, of who you are now and the direction that you're headed.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that and see, here's where people get that messed up. He's not saying get rid of the people that you've known your entire life. What he's saying is, if you're on a journey and you're looking to get to a certain place, certain people have to be in place for that journey to be successful. Because everyone, even though you can love them, you guys can be cool, everyone is not going where you're going, and they're not equipped to go where you're going. And that is so big, because how many times have you told people something and they'll say, oh, you doing that? Oh, well, who told you could do that? Well, or what's that little that, and that always gets me, that little thing that you're working on, Jay. Oh, what's that little show you working on? That, what, that little working out the kinks? And So you got to be real careful of who you allow to enter into your space, because you're going to get some emotional vampires. And even sometimes people do it unintentionally, inadvertently, because they're not where you are. And it's okay to let those people go. Because
Yeah.
again, if you're trying, and I'm just going to use that cliche term, if you're trying to level up, certain people only make it to a certain level.
Yeah.
And that's their ceiling.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to aim for the stars, then certain people who are, only aiming for the ground, you got to let them go.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
if it's people that you can't quote unquote completely let go, like family per se,
Yes.
you have to learn how to guard your energy and make boundaries.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you are an executive producer with a very good friend of mine, Antoine Allen, on a
Yes.
phenomenal film that I did not watch yet, but I plan on watching it, Lola,
Yes.
because as you know, some things have been going on in my life. But how did you get involved with that?
Networking.
And it works.
Yes,
Networking
right.
works.
Yeah, no, like I mean, Antoine is the short answer to the question. Antoine approached me about it. I said, I believe in this, I believe in you, I believe in what you're doing. So yes, I'm on board, let's do it. And so I say networking though, because that's how I met Antoine and kept in touch with him. I'm trying to remember how I met Antoine. I want to say it was at the Oktoberfest, because he was one of the producers of Oktoberfest Film Festival. I think that's how I met him. And basically, I saw his energy. I appreciated what he was doing as not only a producer of film festivals, but as a director, writer, producer of his own films, and how he's been a genius at marketing them and getting them out there, distributed and on networks and things. And so I was like, I need to stay in touch with you. And I did. I stayed in touch with him and even, picked his brain, looked at him as even like as a mentor, and just, yeah, stayed in touch. And because he saw who I was and my journey and what I've been doing, he approached me about being an EP on the project. So that's basically what happened.
Okay.
So nurture relationships, people.
Yeah. And actually, and here's okay, proximity. I'm going to say that word again, everybody. Proximity. Because guess where I met Miss Ralph? At Antoine Allen's Film Festival. Validate Yourself Film Festival. That's where we initially met. So it's all about proximity. And it's all about networking. But more importantly than networking is the relationships that you build. Because anyone can network. But are you relationship building?
Right.
Because we could have just networked, said, what you working on, exchange cards, and that would have been, okay, well, she's now in my network. If I say, hey, what's up, what you got going on? But we have cultivated a relationship, which is so very important. So speak to that for a second. How do you go about building real relationships as opposed to building relationships where you're only in it to get something out of it, as opposed to being in a relationship to be of service?
Yeah. How do I guess the best way is to look at it from that standpoint. How can well, first of all, you identifying people that you resonate with, identifying people that you feel like you vibe with, that you rock with, that you appreciate, you think that they're doing something, they're about something, they're talented. So identifying those people, because you do meet a lot of people, and you can't, it's impossible to think that I can nurture a real wholesome relationship with every single person that I meet. So it's really identifying who your people are, number one, first and foremost. And then having those conversations with them where it's like, how can I help you? What can I do? Like there's been times where I have met people at film festivals where I really like their work. I've felt their vibe energetically, and it's like, hey, can I help you in any way? need me to, I'll come on set, I'll be a PA, like, just to kind of stay in their space.
Right.
And or having, and now in this day and age, having Zoom conversations, having Zoom coffees, and just sitting there and talking about what we're working on, what we're collaborating, or what we may be working on, and if there's a way to collaborate, or figuring out maybe there's some resources I can offer this person, but really just getting curious about this person, getting curious about how they operate, what they're working on, and if there's any way I can help them. That has been just really fun in developing relationships with people. I'm a connector. I like just getting to know people and connecting with people. So that in and of itself is fun for me. And it has led to jobs and opportunities. And I mean, one time doing that, I'm meeting somebody at a film festival, networking, nurturing that relationship, really, really, really completely coming from a place of service. I could go down the line of what happened, but the short story is going from there. So I ended up in Spike Lee's house and talking to Spike Lee, just really coming from, but it all started with me networking and really just coming from a place of service. How can I help you?
Yeah. Yeah. And when you come from that space, you end up getting so much more than if you were to just slide in someone's DM saying, "Can I have?" Which is a big turnoff. It is a big pet peeve.
Right.
And I understand that sometimes people are new and they don't understand the nuances of how things work. But if you always approach it from, let me help you, and then in turn, by helping you, I help myself. If you just keep that basic premise in mind, you'll be fine. But we are almost to the end. But before we start to wind things down.
Can I just add to that point real quick?
Oh, sure.
Real quick. I can't remember who said this. It was, I believe it was one of those famous self-empowerment people, something along the lines of, I'm not going to say the exact verbatim quote, but the premise is, the more people you help, you can get to wherever you want to get to by helping people.
Yeah.
Like the more people you help, the further you can get along, but literally helping them. So, and I'm butchering the quote, but
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've heard it. I know exactly.
Yes.
See, because listening to personal development, you did what you did with it, but I know exactly what you're talking about because I've heard that quote. I'm not even going to try because I'll tear it up. But I know,
right. Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about. But it's so true because I've gotten so much further by just offering my services. Hey, what can I? And I mean, someone followed me on Clubhouse yesterday because I was in a pretty nice room, and I'm not even going to say who the person is, but when I saw that they were following me, I was shocked. And then not only did they follow me on Clubhouse, they started following me on Instagram. And I was even more shocked because this person is phenomenal. They're a Hollywood veteran. Okay. And I was sitting, I told my wife, I was like, guess who followed me today? And she was like, really? I'm like, well, yeah, really. I mean, you sound surprised. And then someone else followed me that's like really prominent in the industry.
Wow.
And they were in a room talking yesterday, like, well, we're going to be watching on the Oscars and we hope your film wins a couple of awards. She started, and I'm saying to myself, okay, not downplaying it, but I'm like, well, what the heck are these people following me for? But here's the thing.
Because you're the man, Floyd.
I try to be, but when I was in a room yesterday, I guess what I offered resonated. So that's something that anyone can take with them, that it doesn't matter where you are. Everyone has something to offer.
Yes.
You could have the biggest Hollywood executive. They don't know everything.
Right.
They can't see everything. So never sell yourself short or play yourself saying, well, oh, it's nothing I can offer them. You don't know.
Right.
But if you don't put it out there, you'll never know.
And that's where the curiosity comes. Like getting curious about the person, getting to know the person, figuring out like where are their challenges.
Right.
Like that's where the curiosity comes in handy.
You're absolutely right. But let's talk about your club on Clubhouse, Bad Bitch Club. Because a lot of people will be like, Bad Bitch Club. Well, I thought they ain't like being called bitches. But the way you put it, because
Right.
you say, but women, not only, men can be bad bitches too. So, I'm in the Bad Bitch Club, so I must be a bad bitch. So talk about the Bad Bitch Club.
Yeah, it's a club. It started as a way of reclaiming, because if you listen to hip hop and they're talking about bad bitches, it's like women like Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B that show up, and they're very clear about what their identity is. They don't care what other people think. They are. And that confidence, I mean, they're beautiful women anyway, but that confidence makes them just even more beautiful and exuding. And so we as Black women have reclaimed that term bitch, and we'll call each other bad bitches because that is now a compliment. And so I've taken that and created the Bad Bitch Club for anybody who wants to be comfortable in your own skin. And with that's the aim of the club, is to help you become comfortable in your own skin so that you show up as the best version of you, because the badder you are, the better you show up. And also that's what leads to you becoming the six-figure entrepreneur and or the Oscar winning, Emmy winning artist. So that's the purpose of the Bad Bitch Club.
And it is an amazing club. And, we get in and do some really good work, which is so awesome, because again, it's coming from a place of service. And the one thing that I really like about the club, and thank you so much for having me moderate and sharing, what I know and learning from so many amazing people. The thing that I like most about the club is that it's such a safe space and that there's no judgment, that people can come in, they can kick their shoes off and they can be comfortable. And it's really like coming to Thanksgiving dinner and everybody just sitting around chopping it up and talking and just having a good time. And it's just so fulfilling when we help people and, they're so appreciative. And I don't know if you noticed, about a month ago, we had the young lady who was thinking about moving to New York. I can't remember where she was from.
New Orleans.
Yes.
Yes.
She has moved to Manhattan.
Yes.
She has moved to Manhattan. So I saw her in another room and I was sitting in the audience and she was on stage and she was saying, well, yeah, I'm about to move to Manhattan. I'm going to be. And I was like, oh my gosh, we told her to do that. We told her to do that. We told her to go get it. And that made me feel so good, because I was like, wow, you have so many people that are naysayers, but all you need is one person to believe in what you're doing. And the fact that there is a tribe and a community of people headed by yourself that is empowering both men and women to just go out and do that damn thing is absolutely amazing. So it's just an honor to be a part of that. But before we get out of here, because I don't want to tie your Saturday up, because I know you got big plans for the night, where can people find you?
Yes, you can find me, Nycole Ralph, spelled JNYCOLERALPH, on all platforms. So that's my website, jnycoleralph.com, at Nycole Ralph on Instagram and Twitter, and Nycole Ralph on Facebook. On Clubhouse is just Nycole, so at Nycole. That's the only one that's different, but everything else is Nycole Ralph.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would highly recommend and I highly suggest that if you are really trying to take whatever it is you're doing, and you don't have to be in the content creating space or the indie film space, but if you're just looking to take let's take all the what you do stuff off the table. If you're just looking to take you to the next level, if you're looking to take you to another plane and to make you a better person, I would highly recommend reaching out to Jay and, just have a talk, get a consultation, and hopefully, you guys can get to working on making you the best version of yourself, because that's what we're all looking to be, the best version of ourselves. And before I forget, because I always forget, and my marketer always says, you forgot. If anyone has a question concerning this podcast, please go to Anchor, a conversation with, and leave a recording. And, if you have a question for Jay or, any of the other programs, please leave a recording and I will definitely answer it on the next podcast. But Jay, this has been absolutely amazing.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
amazing. Sure. Go ahead.
I want to tell your people, you mentioned my consultations. They are complimentary, y'all. So hit me up, complimentary consultations. If you want to, if you're feeling stuck and you're trying to figure out how to get to that next level in whatever you're working on, hit me up. I got you.
Now check this out, ladies and gentlemen. 6 figures here. She's making 6 figures. So if you're stuck and you need to get unstuck, if you needed brain surgery, you go to a brain surgeon. You wouldn't go to the soccer coach. So if you're trying to get to that next level and trying to, be a baller, or you're trying to be a bad bitch, get that free consultation. It's not, see, there you go. It's not going to cost you anything to start the betterment of yourself. It's the first step in the journey to the you that's sitting there staring back at you saying, hey, you are so much more than what you are. As Jay said earlier, I know there's something better for me. I know there's something better for me. There's something better for all of us. So hit her up for that free consultation. Start working on the best you right now. Jay, this has been amazing. You have to come back because we got to chop it up again. But ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to thank each and every one of you for spending a little over an hour of your time with myself and Jay. And I hope that you took something from this podcast that you can incorporate into your daily life immediately and, get you elevated. Guys, thank you so much. And we are out. Peace.